photo shoot, for example, would take you.
Exactly, and the cost is ridiculous. Whereas it was one man, because this is the thing you've got now is the opportunity now is not for agencies. I'm telling you, it's not. You're all in trouble. The opportunity now is for one man, one woman, one whatever you identify as bands, to go out there, learn these tools, and learn how to become this kind of Swiss Army knife.
From Ministry of Work, welcome to Greater Manchester's Greatest Minds podcast, a show about Greater Manchester's pioneers, entrepreneurs and visionaries, and the stories that brought their ideas to life. I'm Eddie Whittingham, and on today's show, how Dan Kelsall established himself as one of Manchester's most creative minds, working for the likes of Huel, KFC, Semrush and Ladbrokes. Every so often, you hear someone so refreshingly straight to the point, brutal even, that you can't help but stop to pay attention. It was back in 2016 I first came across Dan at a pitching event in the city centre of Manchester. He was pitching his then startup Vonkel, a video alternative to applying for jobs with CVs. His pitch had me hooked. I liked the idea of his startup, but I was more intrigued by the man behind the startup. He's since gone on to become one of Manchester's leading marketing experts and at the forefront of using artificial intelligence to further his work. But Dan wasn't always destined to be in marketing. Much like most success stories, it took him a while to figure that out.
I grew up in Bury, which, if you don't know where Bury is, you should do if you're watching this.
Yeah, if you listen to this, then you definitely should know.
Exactly, yeah. So Bury's a little northern town. There's not much going on, like most northern towns. People tend to do your standard thing. I mean, the idea of success in Bury is that you get a girl pregnant as early as you possibly can, then try and get some form of job. If you get a career, you're laughing, but a job will do, usually a trade, and then you scrap your way towards getting a mortgage. And then that's it, you made it. That's
the dream, the Bury dream.
I mean, anything above that, and you kind of fizz from Corrie, which is one of our famous people. So the world I grew up in is probably similar to you. It's just very, very working class. People dream of being, footballers until they hit about 12 and then start doing drugs. And the prospects aren't that good. But there are quite a lot of people that want different things. I mean, I was never particularly good at school.
Academically or behave?
Probably both. Yeah, probably both. Yeah, and I think I always it never really gelled with me, the academia. It wasn't that I couldn't do it. My school reports always said things like, has a lot of potential, needs to try harder. That's generally the gist of them. And from there, I just kind of, came out of school. I started going to a college because I was awkward and a bit, I just liked doing different things just to piss people off. I didn't go to the same college as my mates. I decided I was going to go elsewhere. So I went to college in Bolton. Decided after a week I didn't like it very much because it's really hard to make friends with people from Bolton. And I basically, what my mum used to do was drive me all the way from Bury, drop me off at this college in Bolton. I'd wave her off as she went off to work, and then I'd walk back home. Right. I did that for 3 weeks. Didn't really get anywhere. Went into decided I was going to go into the Navy. So I trained for probably a year because I wanted to go in as a diver. At the time, divers now, you can't get straight into that profession. I think it's been stuck under some special category, but you could go back in at the time, and I spent a year training to get into this. Did all the tests and things, went down and did this thing called the PEDA, which is like this kind of special forces equivalent sort of thing. There was 50 lads could get in, and only 2 of us passed. That's how difficult it was.
Bloody hell.
So obviously my mum and dad are buzzing because this kid with very few prospects now going into this amazing job, right? Well. Underwater bomb disposal is pretty cool.
Amazing.
I left basic training, just went AWOL because for a girl, I think, who, I think a few weeks after I got back, I think it turns out my mate had shagged her, but,
Right.
but that's kind of, I'd given up on that straight away. Then I went into uni, and I got into uni without any A-levels at 19, because it turns out Manchester Met, which is basically, if you don't know, Manchester's kind of Mickey Mouse uni. If you've gone to Manchester Met, I apologise, but it's shite. But they were short on places. They were short on pupils filling the places. Sorry, so they were really trying to get people in. So I harassed the admissions tutor. I can't remember. I think I was sending her poems and like you do, as a normal teenager would. And I was just bombarding them with stuff. Anyway, she got that fed up with me. She said, "Listen, right, your writing's all right, right? We've got a place on a politics and philosophy course. If you come in, do a test in front of our little board of, posh uni people, we might give you a place on it and we'll bypass UCAS for you." So I went in, passed it, ended up on a politics course. Naturally, didn't go in. Took the money that I got for the politics course and opened a gym in Radcliffe.
Right.
Which didn't go very well because my mates used to drink in there as well. Kind of
bit of a conflict.
Yeah,
maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, so that didn't work. But somehow still scraped through and got a degree. So I had a politics degree, no A-levels. Then you go out into the big wide world and you think, number one, what the fuck can you do with a politics degree?
So you actually got your politics?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Nothing, right? Nothing. Without A-levels, nothing. So I was basically scrambling for a job. So I ended up working in bars, doing all sorts of stuff. I did everything, glass collector, I did bar work, I did a bit of door work, I did all sorts of random crap. Then the UFC had just started up.
Yeah.
So my pre the Conor McGregor era, this is when just basically two fat blokes who spend most of the time in the pub would get in a cage and fight each other, right? So I decided that I was going to go into this and become this cage fighter. How cool would this be? But nobody told me about the prerequisite of needing to be good at fighting. Right, so I spent a good 5 years getting beaten up and not really knowing why. Went from that, and that's kind of when my business journey began, because I couldn't get a job that I liked.
Yep.
That's a problem. I couldn't stick a job out.
Why was that though?
It wasn't that I didn't do the work. It was I just couldn't get on with management.
Right.
That's what it was.
Yeah. Didn't like being told what to do?
Probably, yeah.
So the Navy wouldn't have worked out, would it?
No. No, definitely not. So I really struggled with that. And I just thought, well, I've got to do something. I've got to somehow get out with this and make some money, because there's only so... My mum and dad weren't well off, so they can't keep funding a mid-20-year-old. So I just thought, well, I'm going to try to start my own businesses. So me and my brother started a clothing range called Bob and Weave. So this is the thing, I was always got branding and names. So it's called Bob and Weave because it was an MMA clothing brand, one of the first ones, right? Did quite well, as in, for its first year. But me and my brother fell out. Me and my brother never particularly got on that well. So why we tried a business together, it was a disaster waiting to happen. Went from that and I thought, well, there's something in this MMA game because it's getting bigger. So maybe I could do another business in this. So I started making Vaseline in my kitchen.
Right.
Just in a pan.
Right.
As you do. No regulations followed, none of that. Didn't need any of that. And it was called War Balm. And basically it was an organic Vaseline, because fighters use Vaseline, obviously, to stop getting cuts and stop all sorts of stuff, right? So, and I went around trying to sell this in gyms. But the problem is, when you've got boxers and MMA fighters, they don't really care about having sensitive skin because you get punched in the face all day. It doesn't really matter. So organic Vaseline is really something that they consider. So that went tits up.
Good name though.
Yeah, again, War Balm, pretty cool. And then I made a second product called called Gun Soak. As in you soak your guns. I thought I was that clever as well. Gave that to a few mates to try out, and one of my mates dyed his bath pink.
Permanently?
Yeah.
Right.
His new bath suite. But I didn't realise you can't just buy in unrefined Himalayan bath salts off some guy on eBay
Right.
and make a bath salt. It's not the way it works.
Well, you know now.
I learned that lesson. So went from there and did all sorts of crazy stuff from that point. I mean, I did various different apps. I did a subscription protein drink service before subscription protein shakes came out. So the ideas were always there and always a bit ahead of the time.
Yeah, because all these fundamentally, like, the ideas aren't like terrible.
No,
but they've just missed the mark for.
Yeah, they were just me doing them. That's the problem, right? But even that, I mean, like I was trying to undercut everybody because protein's expensive, so I was trying to undercut everybody. I went and got whey liquid off a farmer.
Okay.
And tried drying that out in my oven. Mixed it with some flavourings I got again, probably off eBay. Some probably the same guy. And mixed them together and gave them to a mate.
He's no longer with us.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead. He died in the bath. Yeah. So the consistently shit ideas, basically, mate.
I don't know. They're not terrible ideas.
Consistently badly executed.
Okay,
ideas, that's what I should say.
Because like the protein game, you probably would have been quite ahead of the curve at that point. If you could have made it work, you could have been on something, couldn't you?
Yeah, I was that's the one thing I was good at. I was always kind of slightly ahead of the curve. Like there weren't really many MMA clothing brands, and I started it. There definitely wasn't an MMA organic Vaseline brand. And weirdly, that market doesn't exist, So there's still an opportunity there for someone. And then again, the protein shake stuff was ahead of the curve, and that's when I got onto. I started a job as a recruitment consultant, which I fucking hated. And I'm a big believer in, Rishi was talking about national service only a while ago. Yeah. I'm a big believer that every kid. At 18, you should have to do 2 years in a recruitment agency.
Yeah, recruitment or like some door-to-door sales or something.
Yeah, something shit, because it's shit. It's shit.
Makes you appreciate another job.
Anybody who likes doing that shit, I've just, I mean, this is ironic. I've just joined a group that's got a recruitment agency in, but it's just fucking. I mean, it's soul destroying. Yeah, it's shoot you in the face, soul destroying, But I realised something in that as well, that there were these kind of video interviewing tools that were coming onto the market, and I realised that no one wanted to use them. There was just a really bad uptake with them, and I realised that I thought the one thing that it was missing was that for a lot of lower level roles, a recruitment consultant isn't needed, so a middleman isn't needed, right? And most of these platforms are shit for them as well. So send your CV. If you send a CV as a young person, you've got no experience, right? Yeah. So your CV looks shit. Every young person's CV looks as shit as the next person's, right? So I thought, well, why aren't we using video for applications for a younger audience? And I created this app called Vonkel, which you could send what we call vonks, which were just 1 minute videos where you can apply for a job. A young person can apply for a job with a video, either displaying their skills or talking about why they're right for the job. Which again, ahead of the curve, good idea. Got some big brands involved, like talking things. Where I met you, obviously, when we were in the same office. But the world wasn't quite ready for it. Video technology wasn't where it needed to be. Yeah. The storage and compression of videos wasn't where it needed to be, and the tech when it came to video apps wasn't quite where it needed to be. It needed to be a lot faster for it to work the way I wanted it to.
And presumably that stage, what were we in there, like 2016? Yeah, ish,
something like that.
You'd have been reliant upon your own tech rather than being able to leverage what was out there.
There wasn't anything out there. There was nothing. Yeah, so we had to build it from scratch.
Because I found that in the years that I've been in business, sort of go back to 2016, even 2018, 2020. Yeah. The stuff that you almost had to manually do then, you can do now with automations or whatever it might be. Yeah. So again, you're ahead of the curve. Got Talk, for example. Who else was using it?
Not many people, mate. No, there's
some appetite.
There was a few. Yeah, there was two different businesses that were doing it. I mean, we managed to get. I went to Hotel Football at one point, and Gary Neville did a bonk on it and things like that. So and it got covered by the news several times, and Mediacom were the CEO of Mediacom thought it was brilliant, and was pushing it for me. And then I did that thing with NatWest where we did the thing with Geffen Jones and stuff like that, right? So it had a lot of potential, and it had I had a bit of angel investment in it. But once we realised how much this was going to cost, I think he just lost his appetite for it. So, and that was that. Was
that the reality? Like, really, at the time, it's too early. It was a good idea, but too early.
It was too early and too expensive, mate.
Yeah.
It cost an absolute fortune, and
probably talking millions at that stage.
Yeah, and either it's because I was shit at selling it, or because investors had no appetite for it. But it was really hard to raise for it as well for that technology. People just weren't weren't convinced that video was going to take off in recruitment.
Yeah, which is ironic now, given video is the primary thing for everything, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So again, good idea, and you've clearly executed it to a decent degree because you've got people on board, some traction, investment, but maybe just a wrong timing.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. But from that, I mean, it was just I realised one of the things that like I say, I've always been reasonable at is getting is building the brand, right? Coming up with a name, building it that people remember, building a brand, doing decent marketing that people remember and that gets opportunities in, right? So, and I've always liked writing. So I've written 2 novels that were never taken on because the shit. Notice I say I like writing, not that I'm good at writing. And so I just thought, well, maybe I go into this world, this marketing world. It seems to be what I'm better at. The product development side of things doesn't seem to be my gig. So that's what I did. I went and started I was a copywriter for a tax firm for a bit.
Right.
And at first, obviously, that's just the sort of stuff that would, that would send a glass eye to sleep. But it's one thing I realised there was that a good marketer isn't a person who can who can take the latest beauty brand and make it blow up on TikTok. Or take an existing brand like someone's Twitter with millions of followers and do a semi-witty tweet. That's not good marketing. Good marketers are the ones that can take the most boring stuff, unheard of, brands that are unheard of within boring industries, and turn them into something. Sorry, just burnt my breakfast up. And turn them into something, which no industry is that more difficult than in tax, which is categorically the most boring industry in the world, and full of mostly cunts. But the thing with it was, I realised I could write in a way and craft the marketing and content in a way that would get people talking about tax. I could start taking the piss a little bit, and that's when I first started growing a presence on LinkedIn. I did an article taking the piss out of people's profile pictures. I did all sorts of shit, and suddenly my audience started to build. And again, I'd been lucky enough to be very, very early to LinkedIn to start leveraging what are opportunities that most people are trying to, scramble for nowadays. But there's only so much you can write for tax, and after about a year and a half, I got really fed up with that. And again, started getting that itch again. I wanted to go out and do my own thing. But I joined a startup, so I thought this is more likely like it. I joined this startup that was called Grad Touch, which is a fucking terrible name. But
no explanation needed.
Yeah, exactly. But I started working for them, doing a lot of stuff. Their stuff all started blowing up on particularly on LinkedIn. Started doing a lot more around strategy and how we can bring the right things in. Came up with the fact that if you're gonna it was when people were talking about personal branding, but they weren't calling it personal branding. They were just saying this is how you sell through a person on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I started realizing that why don't you do it for multiple people? Why not have 4 different directors, 4 different personalities, all selling, all speaking in a different way and selling different aspects of what you do?
Yeah, will appeal to different
people, pockets
right?
of your target audience, right? And you got a wider reach then. And we did that really successfully, and it worked really well. But I decided, because at the time I was taking on freelance clients as well, so I decided, you know what? This doesn't make sense for me to work for these guys for X amount anymore. I'm making quite a lot of freelancing. Like, I'm going to go out on my own and start an agency. And the one of the blokes in there said, I don't want you to go out and start an agency. Started in here. We'll fund it. Think about it. You've done all these businesses where you've gone out on your own, and you know how hard it is. This is you'll have the comfort of a salary plus a decent amount of the company. Blah blah blah. So that was when Offended was born, and I remember him saying to me, what do you want to call it? I said Offended, and he said, you're absolutely not calling it that. I said, well, what the fucking hell, where I'm going. And he was like,
what was the objections called?
Well, he said, why would you? I don't understand why you call it Offended. I mean, even because I even then looked to get a business partner on. It was the head of graduate accounts or something like that, and bring him in. And even he said the same thing. I just don't think Offended is going to work. The name Offended. And I was like, the very fact that you're saying this, shows and you can't let it go, is the reason I want to call it Offended.
Yeah, because it gives you an opportunity to stand out from day dot, doesn't it? Right?
Everyone will talk about it, and there will be a lot of people saying the same thing. I said, but trust me, once we get the marketing going in the right way, once we start fucking shit up, the name Offended will give us license to talk about who we want. People will look at us, rather than looking at us like fucking social chain and you're a school prefect, they're looking at us like you're offended and you're selling fags on the back of the sports hall.
Yeah,
right?
disrupts us.
Yeah, they expect it. So I started building Offended in there, and when it got to the pandemic hits. Obviously, no one's fucking recruiting grads because it's the pandemic. GradTouch making no fucking money. We're still doing absolutely fine. GradTouch started pressing us more. We're not getting the money out of it that we thought we were going to get. We're having to spread the money into the group. He's now fucking around with our contracts and saying that we're now going to be part owners of the group rather than Offended.
Oh, really?
To which I mean, yeah.
What, to prop up the grad side of things?
Yeah. I mean, he's a little prick. I mean, I'm going to write a book one day, and he's getting absolutely roasted in it. But he just completely fucked about went back on all of his word and everything. And I know people do that sometimes because when they're fucked, they start dragging other people down and stepping on other people, and that's just business.
It shouldn't. Yeah, but it shouldn't. It doesn't have to, does it?
No,
I don't like that excuse because it shouldn't have to be. It
shouldn't happen, but I know it does. I'm not naive. So we ended up going and having this big battle. I just said, well, we ended up leaving, and I said, Dean said to me, he said, "Don't whatever you do."
Dean, who you co-founded it with.
He said, don't whatever you do, don't. Tell the clients, or tell the clients that not to tell GradTouch that we're leaving. So I told the clients, and the clients all submitted the resignation, saying the contract was cancelled at the same time.
Yeah, of course it did.
Fantastic. Next minute, GradTouch. I mean, considering they had no money, I don't know how they managed to do this, but they did have Maven as a backer. But GradTouch then sent Knights, the law firm, after us. And this, she kept. I don't know if they did this on purpose, but every time they sent us a letter, they'd also send us the bill. So it was saying something like $6,000 a day or something. They were paying a night's partner to come after little old us.
Dean, bear in mind at this stage, you are just you and Dean, right?
Yeah, just me and Dean, and we just took some clients, and that's it. We set up an agency on our own, right? Dean, shit his pants. He did. Unfortunately for me, though, I don't know what there's something in my head that I don't shit my pants at much, particularly when it's an authority figure or a bully, or I just don't shit my pants. I just think, to me, that I see that as game on.
It's a challenge, right?
Yeah, I'm like, right, fuck you. You're a partner at Knights. You're going to come after me. I've just seen you've made a mistake. You think that's threatening, sending me this bill to show how much it cost, right? You've made a mistake there. I'm a lad at the time with all I've got in worldly possessions is a PS4 and a Hyundai i20 that look like you've been fucking raped by a bear, right? They're my worldly possessions, right? Already, my worldly possessions don't equate to what it's costing to hire you
for one letter, yeah.
So I said to Dan, and Dean's doing the negotiating because
you can't be trusted.
Yeah. So Dean's doing it, and I'm going. Every time Dean comes back, he comes back with a new offer. I think it was like the buy offers for $250,000 at first, and the buy. And every time I was just like, no, tell him to fuck off. And he's like, we need to accept one of these. Tell him to fuck off. Say, and I remember sending an email to her saying complimenting her copywriting. So it's both threatening and authoritative, and you know, if you were ever out of work of law, then you could come for a job at Offended, stuff like this I was sending to her, like, he was like, you can't be saying this to her, you just can't, and I'm like, you can fuck off. She's more than welcome, you know. She even wanted my, she asked for my laptop and other things, so she checked for IP. I said, you're more welcome to come around to the flat. Make sure you wear a mask. Stay 2 meters away and all that. I'm just giving a shit. Yeah. So in the end, she must have got so fed up and realised that, you know what, this kid has nothing to lose. He doesn't give a fuck. Like, and I'm a lawyer, and even I don't know what to do here, because we take him to court. What are you going to get out of him?
Nothing. Yeah. Exactly.
And I'll tell you what they were definitely going to get is we're going to get absolutely rinsed on LinkedIn, because that's the other thing after it. And I said, I don't think legal proceedings have been, commentary on legal proceedings has been brought to LinkedIn Live before, right? But it will be if you want to go down that route. So I think they just thought the problems here are just fucking too things. And they said, well, what amount would you agree on? And we agreed on 20 grand. So we bought the brand and everything, all the IP and the client contracts and everything for 20 grand, right? So we had to. It is stupid because we set up our own business, built it all, made them a lot of money, and then had to buy our own business off them. But in the middle of a pandemic,
But presumably, you know, definitely worth 20 grand to you guys.
Yeah, and we paid that off
because of the client contract.
And because of the client contracts and stuff, we paid that off in about 2 months.
Yeah,
done. Right, so it was the right move.
Because Offended, obviously, a marketing agency is something that some people in Manchester definitely would know about and know you for, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
because it was ultimately your brainchild.
Yeah.
So you guys go off on your own. You just bought it. How do things progress from there?
So we go. We Offended just starts rocketing at a rate of knots. I don't know why. Everyone else is struggling in the pandemic, right? Most agencies are struggling, but no one had seen anything like this before, right? We were an agency that came up, started telling everyone to go fuck themselves, started telling everyone the marketing was shit, started doing some pretty bold stuff, taking, you know, comments that people had said about us, horrible comments that we've heard off people, and putting them on billboards, you know, just being really, really abrasive and trying to fuck stuff up, really, and people hadn't seen it before, so it rocketed, and you know, we'd had to get rid of all of our own staff because of the contracts, our old staff that we had within Offended. So it's just me and Dean. And then we hired a designer, RJ, and then gradually we just grew. Got this little office that was like infested with pigeons and stuff. As you come in the morning, have to kick the pigeons out first, and then you can get to work. But it just grew and grew and grew, and eventually we, you know, before we knew it, we'd signed Entain, won Ladbrokes and Coral and Foxy Bingo and all the rest of it. We'd worked, you know, we were turning over what most small agencies were turning over after they'd been alive for 5 years. I mean, there's still mates who have agencies now who were getting to kind of like that 4 or 5 year point, and we're only turning over what Offended was turning over its first 6 months.
Wow. Yeah, so it really did go.
Yeah, it's like the clappers, yeah, absolutely flying. And the team grew and grew and grew, and it grew to maybe. You know, I think we got to about 14 people. Our biggest, maybe more. Which, by the way, if you've got an agency, don't bother growing that big. Yeah, the problems that come with it just aren't worth it, and you don't make any more money. But it was doing really well, and then we just kind of had a real difference of opinion when things started going a bit sideways. I mean, me and Dean were having differences of opinion in personal life. We were having differences of opinion in business life as well, and we got to the point where we were probably making more money for ourselves and more profit when we had a smaller team.
Yeah, and that's sometimes the myth of growing an agency, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you've got to realise every time you make a bit more profit, you're making that profit because you took on new clients. To service those new clients, you've now got to get a new member of staff.
Yeah.
The problem with marketing talent, and the problem with the industry is most marketers, right, are any good marketer. It might join an agency or a team when they're young, but then they're going to do one or two things generally. They're either going to go out on their own, or they're going to go and start their own agency. There are a very, very small number of very, very good marketers that stay within jobs, but they're just superstars, and every marketing agency or marketing team has one, max 2 superstars, right? The rest of the talent, because there's such a low barrier to entry in the marketing industry, is mediocre talent, and it's the truth. So one of your major problems as an agency owner or a marketing business owner is you are trying to bring in, as you grow, bring in more and more mediocre people, and you're trying to motivate those mediocre people to do things to the standard that clients expected before those people joined. That's fucking tough.
And I suppose with you particularly, because you built that audience already, you was early into LinkedIn, people wanted to work with you, presumably.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's a reality, and even
so they didn't want the junior doing the work, did they? They probably wanted Dan Kelsall.
Well, even after I'd left Offended and in the fallout, I mean, I got wind from certain clients that had come to me, and I got wind from ex-employees that had left. That Dean wasn't telling people I'd left.
Just keep it
so
quiet.
new leads are coming in.
I get it.
I get why he would, but he wasn't telling people.
Because it was synonymous with you, wasn't it?
That's the reality of what I'd grown. Was Offended was essentially what I was. It was the epitome of what I thought and my beliefs and my values, which is. So I mean, I don't blame him for it, but he was. There were clients, kind of coming to me and going, I've just been on a call with Offended, and they sent me a package of proposal over, and I've looked at your LinkedIn and realised you left. So I mean,
what was your catalyst for leaving? Like what?
Well, there was the me and Dean had become different people, right?
Yeah.
We'd grown with this business. We started,
it's tough, isn't it? Co-founder relationships.
Yeah, it started when we were a bit younger. We'd gone through the pandemic. And we were different people. Dean was doing certain things in his personal life that I didn't particularly agree with, and he was doing, and the running of the business. And I was fucking up as well. I don't get me wrong. I was doing things in my personal life that he wouldn't agree with as well. But I was very big on change, so I could see this change with AI and stuff coming. So I was like, as soon as the likes of things like Midjourney dropped and ChatGPT and things. I wasn't telling people that our work should be done by these. I was like, guys, what I need you all to be doing is using these tools and getting to know them, because I'm telling you, these are going to be big soon, right? And we need to figure out we need to be first there, because it's
that's the big change coming over the hill.
One thing I've always pressed is speed, right? Not perfection, because what a lot of people in our team would do, and what a lot of marketers do, is perfection. They think they're artists, right? But most artists don't make a fucking bean. You're not artists, you're marketers. Your job is to make people money, right? If you want to be an artist and go do some fancy pictures, go and try and sell some of them and see what happens, right?
Yeah, it's the classic 7 out of 10 is good enough, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you're sitting there for 3 weeks doing a piece of content, it ain't good enough. And the reality of AI now is, it'd take, even my team that was quick, it'd take us 2 weeks to put an ad campaign together, full ad campaign, right? It takes me a morning. I can do an ad campaign now with the use of AI, because my ideas are good enough, in a morning. And I was right. Everything I was arguing for, I was right, and it was one of the major reasons that as soon as me and Dean fell out, I thought, fuck this, is my opportunity to get out, because
a bit of a fork in the road. If you've got different ideologies of where it's going to go,
exactly that, and so it needed to change, right? And coming out, I was right, and the more this industry moves on, the more right I realised I was, because now what people don't realise is, I always said there's so many agencies and freelancers out there that are sat there being executors, right? There's a big difference between a creative and an executor.
100%.
Creatives are people that practice ideas on a daily basis, right? Their ideas are consistently good, day in, day out. Sure, they have stuff that fails, but their ideas are the vast majority of which are good. The executors are people that learn programs like Photoshop, learn 5,000 fucking 865 shortcuts on Photoshop. They master things like Premiere Pro. They master things like, they're executors, right? What happens is, in an agency, you'll have a few good creatives. The creatives will come up with all the ideas, and then the executors will go away and build them. What's happened is, and what I could see happening, was the executors take a long time. So like, you look at an animator, you look at a designer, takes a couple of days to get something put together. For an animator, probably weeks. For a videographer, probably again a few days, or if not weeks. Or a video editor, sorry. And the reality is that the creatives now, the people who practice ideas, who can come up with these consistently good ideas, that even if they're executed, averagely, so will still do well. But the executors are slowly becoming out of work and finding it really hard to find work. There are tons and tons of people on LinkedIn at the minute complaining about, I can't find work, I'm a freelancer, no one wants my skills anymore, or they're whinging about AI and complaining about AI and blah blah blah. But it's too late. I would much rather AI go and wash my dishes, shag my wife, whatever it needs to do, right? But but it's not gone that way, and you can be like the Luddites that complained about the power mills, or went and set fire to all the machinery because weavers were all being put out of work. It got them nowhere because technology it's
going one way.
It's going one way. There's nothing you can do about it, right? And that is the situation we're now in. And I saw it, and that was one of the main reasons for leaving Offended.
Okay, and that process of leaving Offended, was that straightforward, or
it was basically just I wanted out, so they got a really good deal. But it was basically just Dean and my accountant going back and forth with me and
trying
going,
to figure out.
Here's a deal. Me going, no. Here's a deal.
Was it hard
me
for you
going,
personally because you were so invested in it?
Yeah, it was difficult, mate. It was difficult because I had to leave the team behind, and there was a lot of people seemed to be very scared of me burning things down. So there was a lot of stuff put in the contract that was to protect other parties, to make sure that I wasn't saying the wrong thing or writing the wrong thing online, which we all know is, if I get pissed off enough, it's a danger, right? So so I had to kind of sign that. It meant I wasn't really able to say my goodbyes properly to the team, because I didn't want to say the wrong thing, because I'm a pretty emotional guy, right? I wear my heart on my sleeve. I say what I think. If I'd said the wrong thing, it could. That's it. That's my money down the drain. So I had to step away. And
it's hard doing that. I remember when I sold mine, you sort of step away from the team, and it's weird. It's you built that, right?
Blood,
sweat, and tears. A lot of your own identity into it.
So
to step away is challenging.
Yeah. No, it is. And especially, I did care about the team. I think there's probably a few of them thought that maybe I didn't when I stepped away, because they're only hearing one side of the story. But the reality was, it was categorically the best move I've made business-wise. Offended had peaked. It was on its off. And that's the same with a lot of agencies at the minute. Right? The marketing world has changed, and it's changing at a rate that we have not seen before.
Yeah,
it's rapid.
It feels like this is genuinely, not to over-exaggerate, but a revolution of marketing.
100%, mate, 100%. And I'll tell you what, all those executors that are sat there now that are struggling for work, right? All those agencies where all you do is make videos nice and polished and don't really come up with any new ideas or anything different or push any boundaries. All of you that are struggling, that's not going to change. There's a lot of people that are going, oh, it's just the economy, things will settle down, batten down the hatches. No. That's old world. Now, you ain't getting those gigs back. I'm telling you, my advice to anybody who's got an agency, if you're one of those creatives, I'd start figuring out how you go out on your own, and start figuring out how you use these new tools. Not completely. You shouldn't be getting ChatGPT to write fucking diddly squat, but it can still be used for certain purposes. It can
speed things up.
It can speed things up. Again, a lot of images on Midjourney, you're going to have to alter with a program. You're going to have to know how to do a little bit.
But it's that ideas that you can put into it to get started.
Exactly.
I think I'm not overly a favour of AI, but the bits I've played with it, I can put something into it and it might give me 50% there, whether it's ChatGPT or it's Midjourney. I can get a bit of the idea.
Yeah.
I haven't got the skills to then polish it in like Photoshop and things, but I can see how someone who's got the skills then could.
Yeah.
So it can speed up at least 50% of the journey or whatever it might be.
Yeah, 100%. If you're good enough for ideas, I'm telling you now, mate. I am the reason. So I've come out of the agency world. Now I'm thinking, fucking hell, looking at the way the world's going, is freelancing going to work again? But I've managed to establish myself as a freelancer now that is able to do that. I can charge half the price of what an agency would charge for an ad campaign. But the only difference is I can do 2 a day. As long as I got the ideas, which I'm pretty decent with ideas for most brands and most industries, I can do 2 a day. So, and you look at that, you put that with a retained business model where everyone's paying a set amount a month and everything's collected every month and it's all the time, so your cash flow's decent. And it's an absolute gold mine. You know, the reality.
So joking aside, must be making a lot more money now than when you were head of an agency with 14 staff.
Head of an agency that was, I'd started 4 years before.
A huge payroll.
A huge payroll. And within 6 months, I was already making 3 times as much as I was making as a director.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
without a doubt. Which has now allowed me to now invest in other things and build other businesses, which is what I'm doing. Because what I'm actually trying to do now is I'm realizing that eventually, so I'm existing in this freelancer world, which if you're the right freelancer and you've got the ideas, it's quite fruitful.
Yeah.
The way that AI is going, right, chances are even that will disappear. It's moving that fast. So what I'm trying to do now is invest in my own businesses, my own brands.
Diversify your income stream.
Yeah, to try and take myself out of this career path. And there's a lot of people sat there still clinging onto it, going, AI won't take away what AI. Guys, honestly, if you can't see it, I feel for you. I really do, because in a couple of years' time, you're going to be working in Tesco.
Do you think you'll still always need the ideas, though? I mean, there are fewer idea, creators, like you said, but do you think they'll still need that?
Not necessarily. They will do for the time being.
Yeah.
So ideas are going to be the most valuable currency. So at the minute, freelancing with the ability to execute slightly and videos still needed, because AI videos fucking dog shit. Even Sora, I'm sorry, it's dog shit. But that doesn't mean it will be in 2 years. Once this kind of little freelancing bubble evaporates, which it will, or pops, I don't think the bubbles evaporate. Once that's gone, what I think is going to happen then is AI will get to a point, unless guardrails are put in place, unless restrictions are put in place.
It's too late for that.
I can't see it yet. Yeah. I think AI will get to a point where it will get to a point where it's better at ideas than we are, because it will feed off all of the data. It will make better predictions.
Yeah,
it'll tell
know your
you
audience better.
It'll tell you whether an ad campaign is going to perform before it even performs. It'll be able to predict it. It'll be able to do all these things. And even as an ideas person, even as a guy who's worked, I can't compete with that. It's impossible.
And we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. But I am putting things in place now, so that I don't work in this position anymore. Because this position, my position, I believe in whether it's in the next few years, whether it's in the next decade, will become obsolete. So, but I'm going to then use the skills and the knowledge I know of AI and using AI, and I'm going to be well ahead of the curve, and I'm going to use that within my own brands. The things that I'm building now.
Just for people who are listening who might not have seen loads about it, what are some of the things examples you've been able to do with AI that you just couldn't have done before, or without huge budgets and things like that?
I mean, I'll take an example. There was a Canadian insurance firm that needed this was way back in the early days of Midjourney, that needed a billboard campaign doing. I think one of the billboards was a load of guys in suits running through a jungle getting torn apart by a bear. To execute that before AI, and I've had to hire a load of actors in suits. And I've had to go to Canada or find a forest that looked like Canada, and I'd have to either hire a fucking bear, right, or get a guy in a decent looking bear suit, or get someone who can Photoshop good enough that it looks like one. And all of those things would have cost me a fortune.
Yeah, whereas you're talking tens of thousands probably.
It took me maybe half a day of prompting, then a bit of photoshopping to manipulate the image slightly, bang the text over, off it goes to the thing and goes out as billboards.
And that's interesting. It's not just the time, the cost saving there, it's the time saving, isn't it? So literally from idea to end result within the day versus trying to actually do that as a photo shoot, for example, would take you.
Exactly, and the cost is ridiculous. Whereas it was one man, because this is the thing you've got now is the opportunity now is not for agencies. I'm telling you, it's not. You're all in trouble. The opportunity now is for one man, one woman, one whatever you identify as bands, to go out there, learn these tools and learn how to become this kind of Swiss Army knife. As long as your ideas are there and you have the right systems in place and you know how all the tools slot together and what you need and which skills you need, any good creative now can do what I do and earn a shit ton more money than you're ever going to be able to earn it in an agency. The prerequisite being that you can actually market yourself. But I'd assume that most marketers should be able to market themselves. You can't market yourself. I'm not convinced you can market anybody else.
No, I agree.
But the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there with the tools.
Interesting. And then obviously that's what you have been working on your own sort of self-titled Dan Kelsall, right?
Yeah.
What else are you working on at the minute? You mentioned a few other things that you're trying to diversify the sort of income streams a bit.
Yeah, so one of the things we're doing is called the University Creative Idiots, because I'm always been a big believer that marketing degrees are fucking useless. And actually the people that I've hired...
Just marketing degrees? Or?
Just degrees in general. It's fucking anything academia based. I always say that because I'm shit at it. But marketing degrees, anyone I've ever hired with it that's got a marketing degree tends to be stuck in a box.
Yeah.
They're stuck in a box that, and they're talking absolutes like this is the way you do this and this is the way you do that. Marketing can never be an absolute. There's no one way to do something and one way to achieve something. You can't be thinking just you thinking can't just be in a straight line. Mm-hmm. It's never going to work for you. So me and the magnificent Mr. Lewis Kemp, decided, fuck it, well, we're going to start our own uni. Not a proper uni, don't do proper degrees and all the rest of it, but it's an education kind of platform and a bit of a community and a place where you can also test your work out and stuff, and educating people on the market industry and all the progression of it, right? So getting good creatives in that can tell you how they do things. Talking about AI tools and this new age of marketing and how it works. Yeah,
because there's a reality there, isn't there, where traditional universities will be teaching people about the traditional marketing methods.
You might touch on AI and telling you, you got the chat GPT does this.
But the reality is there's this short-term opportunity to get ahead of the game.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're in the wrong place if you're probably doing the traditional methods.
Exactly that, yeah. So we've done that. We're doing that. We're launching that as to try and educate young markets and small businesses on the realities of the world now and the ways you can be creative, because it's not fucking rocket science. People will try and make out that it is, right? If I was smart, I'd make a lot more money if I was going out there going, you can't be like me. I'm the best creative, but I'm not. Anyone could do it. It's just practice. So we're doing that, and then the other thing I've invested in is, I've gone in to creatively direct a group called the Graph Group, which is they own a construction business, owners of a construction business, and they hate construction recruitment. They think it's shit, all the tools are shit. So they've made their own stuff. They made their own agency called Grind, which we've done some funny ads for because everyone keeps mistaking it for Grindr. They've got an SMS messaging platform called Graft, which is for lower level construction roles. Because why do you need a recruitment agency or a consultant when if you've got a database of bricklayers, you can just text them and say, we've got projects on this week, who wants it, right? Piece of piss, but it works. And then they've got a payroll company, which is due to the systems they developed, it can undercut everyone in the market, which means you're taking less money out of your subbies' pockets. So that already, off a standing start, is already turned over a decent amount a month without doing any marketing yet.
How did you get involved in that? Because that seems a bit left field compared to everything else.
They got me on as a client,
right?
They said we were launching this new thing. Not a client, they were my client. Yeah. And I started doing some mad stuff for them and helping them do some paid advertising and stuff, because they were in hospitality at first. I don't know why they started. They wanted to test the market in hospitality, but given that they've got a construction business, it all makes sense just to keep it as one thing.
It's interesting, isn't it? I always think some of the different opportunities, interesting opportunities, potentially lucrative opportunities like that one might be, comes from just initially getting out there and doing something. It's a bit left field compared to what else you're doing, but actually it's come from the stuff you've been doing all this time.
Exactly. And I thrive in environments where I'm not familiar with it. I like industries. I like the challenge. Sure, I know nothing about construction, but sometimes that's a good thing. The ad campaigns that we've done, and so I've been doing some advertising for their construction business as well. For a brickwork company, and they were saying, if we do this silly advertising, do you think we'll get tier 1 contracts? Because that's what we want. And I mean, they've had leads coming out of their ears from silly videos. It turns out that CEOs in massive big places do actually laugh.
Yeah, still actually.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
And then the final thing that we're doing is I'm launching a thing called Bros with Dave Officer, which sounds a bit gimpy and laddie, but it's in homage to Step Brothers, the film. But we're basically going into the business can be described as we walk around supermarkets, look for products that haven't been disrupted in forever. you know, like deodorant and olive oil and all sorts of shit, and we build brands for them, silly brands, and then we package those brands up in their IP, and we sell those brands on to distributors and manufacturers and people that need them, people that aren't very creative.
So you'll literally create a brand before someone's asked for it, and then try and sell them it.
Exactly that, which hasn't been done before. But if that works, it proves that the idea is idea nowadays is king. That'll
be genuinely, like, from an observational point of view, an interesting test, won't it?
Exactly that. Yeah,
and why not?
We'll see. Yeah, and Dave's, I mean, you know, why Dave's gone 50-50 with me. If you actually look at the work involved and the creativity, it should be like 95% Dave and 5% me. But it's going to be interesting. We've got our first one, which will be launching in about I think a couple of months, because we've got a lot of IP work to do and things.
And so you'll make the logo, you make a website, you make a brand.
Yeah, make a brand, website, buy all the socials.
Sell it? How do you?
Well, we advertise it. We show them what the potential is. So we've done some really stupid adverts for this first one. I'm not going to tell you what it is and what the product is, but done some really stupid adverts for it. And Dave has done a few things before, where he's created like a toilet roll brand, and then he's been approached by loads of manufacturers and people after saying, "Can we buy this?" Because he's got no IP to sell.
Yeah,
he's got nothing to sell. So then some bloke, I think in India, is just going to set it up anyway.
Toilet roll. Yeah.
He's just going to say, "Oh, I'll have that then." I think it's called Holy Sheep. So Dave realised that, hang on, there's an opportunity there. So yeah, and I think, and he still gets approached now by people trying to buy things or asking if he's got any ideas for this or that, and you know, some pretty big investors, some guys with money. So you package those things up, and it's something that hasn't really been done that way around before.
That's why it's interesting. It's up to you then to find the ones that you think will be a good seller, right?
Exactly that. And I tell you what, you walk around the supermarket, mate, you just go, holy shit, no one's ever done anything different.
Literally, you can see it on a shelf, can't you?
Yeah, tons of products. So yeah.
And what's your next sort of step? What's your ambition? Where do you want to get to?
Well, I mean, I've got a few things that I want to do after this, but I'm not going to go into them because some of them are a bit underdeveloped. But my thing is to get these 3 businesses going. I've already started cutting down freelancing because, again, you look at the earning potential in freelancing compared to what the earning potential is if I have my own businesses and brands and market them. And I'm across 3 different things, and the work ratio, the juice isn't really worth the squeeze, so to speak. So I've started cutting down on freelancing with a view that in a few years that's going to happen anyway. This market is going to get squeezed big time, and eventually to completely stop it. In the next couple of years, I don't think I'll be freelancing anymore. I think I'll be concentrating solely on my own brands, my own businesses, and we'll just kind of see where I go from there. And I think my idea of becoming the kind of marketing strategist as this new world comes into play, and as I kind of grow my understanding of it, I'm becoming the marketing strategist and shareholder in a lot of growing businesses is probably the plan.
That's Dan Kelsall, serial entrepreneur and marketing expert, who will no doubt continue to make waves in the marketing scene throughout Manchester and beyond. I'm interested to see what happens in the market space, particularly given the emergence of AI. So let's wait and see. Thanks so much for listening to the show this week, and please make sure to click the follow button on your podcast app so you never miss a new episode of the show. And don't forget to check out Ministry of Work, where you can sign up for a free trial day. This episode was produced, recorded and edited right here at Ministry of Work, with a special thanks to our studio manager Dan Brown and, of course, to you for listening. I'm Eddie Whittingham, and this has been Greater Manchester's Greatest Minds.